to get his old job back. He paid his debt to society, and he says he's worth another shot in Washington. Let's talk more about the past. You're critical of your opponent, Dan Donovan, and you say he sponsored some amnesty bills.
He's a co-sponsor of two amnesty bills.
But didn't you support the Obama amnesty executive order back when you were in Congress?
Never. That's absurd.
Well, that's the information that I've been given. So you
because
deny.
You've been given to it by the Donovan. It's absolutely absurd.
So you deny that you voted in favor of Obama's amnesty executive order?
I can absolutely tell you 100%. Let me look at the camera.
Okay.
I never voted for President Obama's amnesty order. That is a complete lie. But dishonest Dan, that's what he does now because he can't run on his own record.
Okay, no, I read that. I didn't get that from the Donovan camp.
Okay.
I mean, he'll have a chance to respond to this because he's on the program next week. So, okay.
That's fine. Look it up. If anyone says that I voted, please pull that up because that's absolutely incorrect.
Okay, I'm sure he's going to be watching this program. If it's there, he'll bring it in next week.
Please do.
Okay, let me clear up some air, and then I want to get back to issues, Michael.
Sure.
Let me ask this one about the things, what your opponent's saying about it. Let's deal with this controversy over the alleged deal with one of the most powerful lobbying firms in Washington, Patton Boggs. Were you ever lobbied by them?
To the best of my recollection is what I said. I was never lobbied by them. Then the Donovan camp went through some filings and found out that one staffer in 2011, I think, one of my staffers met with someone from Patton Boggs. I had no idea that that actually happened. But here's the issue. Look, Patton Boggs billed me for approximately $1 million. We paid them over $600,000. We had no more money. That committee no longer exists. That's the old campaign committee, Michael Grimm for Congress, pretty much doesn't exist. So they have to write off the debt. However, it has to be approved by the FEC. So this idea that I made a shady deal is an absolute lie. The FEC has to approve it. If they don't approve it, the debt will stay there. If they do approve it, then it's approved by the FEC.
Wasn't it supposed to be approved by a filing by March 31st? Is that still pending?
It's the FEC has to approve it. We don't tell the FEC when they approve it. The paperwork is in. We're waiting for their response. Either they will approve it or they won't. But how is that a shady deal if it's the FEC that has to decide?
Were you lobbied by them or not?
I was never personally lobbied. To the best of my recollection, I never knew I was lobbied. Now I found out in 2011, let me be clear, they did have a meeting with one of my staffers that I didn't know about.
The federal records show that you were on behalf of the embassy of the Republic of Azerbaijan.
I'm sorry?
Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijan. I worked for Azerbaijan?
No, that you were lobbied on behalf of the embassy of Azerbaijan.
Again, let me be clear. They met with one of my staffers that I never even knew about the meeting, once in 2011. How would I remember of the thousands of meetings my staff has that they had one meeting with a representative on behalf of Azerbaijan? And for the record, let's be clear about this too. I was against their issue down the line. I was against everything they were lobbying for and was on the opposite side.
Clearing the air here, giving you an opportunity, want to hear your voice. What about the $422,000 debt, which was reportedly settled for $25,000?
That's what I just said. That's what I just explained. I owed them money.
And that was legal?
Well, it's pending. It's 100%. First of all, it's 100% legal. Anyone who says it's not legal is a moron. Okay? This happens all the time. If a business goes out of business and there's debts owed, they write them off. So Michael Grimm for Congress doesn't exist anymore. So the Patton Boggs said, we'll take whatever's in the account, which was $25,000. However, it is subject to the approval of the FEC. So how could it be a shady deal if the FEC has to approve this? Not Michael Grimm, not my committee, the FEC, which is pending. And they'll let us know if it's approved. If it is, then they approve it. If it's not, then the debt stays on the books.
And if you go back to Washington, then you're still someone who has a debt of $400,000, which would be a conflict of interest.
No, it wouldn't be a conflict of interest. I'll tell you why. Because on the day that I get sworn in, I will give, in legal writing, my lawyers will send a letter to Patton Boggs saying they cannot lobby me or my office. We will have no meetings with them. And that solves every conflict of interest right there.
We'll hear what your opponent has to say about the program next week. So let's take this moment, but talking about first the big question that people are asking, and you've seen all the stories.
Sure.
Why should the voters trust you to go back to Washington after you were indicted on several charges? You spent your time, you served eight months in federal prison? 7 months in federal prison. Why should they trust Michael Grimm to be their representative in Washington?
Because the people of Staten Island and Brooklyn know that it was a political witch hunt. I am literally the first and only restaurant owner ever in the history of New York City to be criminally charged with having 3 delivery boys and a dishwasher off the books. 4 employees off the books over 10 years ago, by the way. This is going back to 2007 and 8. I'm the first one not to be given a civil fine. What I did was wrong. I admit that. I paid much more of a price. I should have been given a civil fine. And the people of Staten Island know that. So they see what was done here. It's the exact same thing, by the way, they're trying to do to President Trump. It's the same players. There was political corruption at the highest levels. That's why Loretta Lynch was told that if she took me down, she'd be Attorney General. 2 months after my bogus sham indictment, she was Attorney General of the United States.
So
that's not an accident.
You're saying this was all politically motivated?
Absolutely. Why else would I not get a civil fine if that's what tens of thousands of people in New York City have gotten? I'm the first and only one not to be given a civil fine, but be criminally charged. 4 people off the books at a restaurant? It's a joke and everyone knows it. And that's why this is all my opponent has. You notice my opponent hasn't said one thing? Here's the one thing that he hasn't said. He never said he was a better member of Congress than me because he hasn't actually accomplished anything.
You know something? I'm going to play that soundbite for him next week and let him respond to it.
Well, okay. Tell him to show you the bills that he passed. That won't take very long.
I'm getting a cue for a couple of seconds left here, so let me give you the opportunity. Take the next 20 seconds or so to just make your final message.
Well,
look right in the camera of the voters.
Absolutely. Listen, the people of Staten Island know that I stood shoulder to shoulder with them, whether it was Superstorm Sandy, whether it was rebuilding the marina, whether it was money for hospitals. I was always there. You saw me in the neighborhoods. And at the end of the day, I'll be the guy that stands next to our president, has his back, while I also have your back. Thank you.
Michael Grimm, Republican candidate in the primary for Congress, return to Congress on June 26th. And next week, we'll be talking to your opponent, Congressman Dan Donovan.
God bless.
All right. Thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you, sir.
All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about prevention of cruelty to animals. We'll be right back.
Creating the spacesuits of tomorrow.